In recent months, a strange phenomenon has been making waves around the world. Long lines stretching outside stores and vending machines where people of all ages gather, some waiting for hours, even days. The goal is the same, to get their hands on a small plush toy called Labubu. What started as a simple product has quickly transformed into a youth icon, sparking an unprecedented craze on social media. People race to show off their photos with it, driving demand sky high and turning the toy into a rare, highly sought-after item in the market. Labubu, the toy you're going to be hearing a lot about in today's episode, has helped the Chinese company behind it reach a market value of nearly $43 billion at the time of filming. That means it's now worth more than the combined value of American toy giants like Mattel, the maker of Barbie, and Hasbro, the maker of Monopoly. Why did Labubu, despite its odd look and having no real practical or tech value, blow up into a global craze that made millions of young people spend huge amounts of money just to collect nearly identical dolls?
And at a time when the world is facing crises of poverty, hunger, inflation, unemployment, wars, and conflicts, could collecting these dolls be considered a form of addiction? Who is the Chinese company behind them? What's the secret of the blind boxes that might explain part of what's happening? And why is the Chinese government starting to worry about the spread of this phenomenon? More importantly, what lessons can we take from all this about our own behavior and lives? These are some of the questions we'll explore together in today's episode. Watch until the end, and after you've heard the full story, share your thoughts in the comments. As always, you'll find all the sources linked in the description box.
PopMart, the beginning of the craze. Let's rewind about 15 years, back to 2010, and head to a place often called the Silicon Valley of China, Zhongguancun, located in the northwest of Beijing. There, a 23-year-old Chinese man named Wang Ning, a fresh advertising graduate from Zhengzhou University in 2009, opened a small 30-square-meter shop. He sold stationery, toys, phone accessories, and even a few simple cosmetics. But Wang Ning noticed something unusual. Customers usually came in, grabbed what they needed, paid, and left, quickly and efficiently. That was true for everything, except one product. You might be wondering, so what's the big deal, Wang Ning? Well, here's the thing. The only items that actually made customers pause, look closely, and spend time considering were the art design toys. These weren't just regular toys. They were carefully crafted, visually unique, and often released as part of collectible series. Wang noticed there was an emotional bond between customers and these toys, something he hadn't seen with any other product. Remember this detail. We'll come back to it later. Eventually, he decided to rename his store PopMart, short for Popular Market, and officially registered it as a company in August 2010 with a starting capital of $60,000. But by 2013, Wang was struggling with a severe cash crunch and customer traffic had slowed to a trickle. On top of that, he faced a mountain of challenges, managing inventory, hiring staff, and handling customer service. At that time, the company was producing a wide range of products and selling them in stores. The turning point came in 2014, when Wang made two decisions that would change the company's trajectory, both rooted in the emotional connection he had noticed earlier. First, to stay profitable, he cut down product lines and focused exclusively on designing and selling toys, which had already become his best sellers that year. Second, he began selling the toys in blind boxes, similar to Japan's gashapon machines, which dispense small, random toys. These two moves gave PopMart a major sales boost. But what Wang did between 2015 and 2016 would take the company to an entirely new level. Wang Ning kept pushing new ideas inside the company and started reaching out to artists to design exclusive toys for PopMart. One of the most important collaborations was with Kenny Wong, a young artist from Hong Kong who created a wide-eyed, round-faced doll called Molly. After these artists joined PopMart, the company's sales skyrocketed, hitting $22 million in 2017 and then jumping to an explosive $73 million in 2018. PopMart kept growing fast and expanding. By 2019, during China's famous Singles' Day festival, the company dominated the sales charts in the collectible figurines and toys category on the giant platform AliExpress. And it didn't stop there. PopMart made a record-breaking $22 million in just one single day on Tmall, surpassing global giants like America's Disney and Denmark's Lego. From that point on, PopMart started making global headlines as a fierce Chinese challenger competing with toy industry legends that had been around for more than a century. As a result, the company's revenue tripled, reaching about $257 million, while also securing licenses to produce toy lines from world-famous companies like Walt Disney and Universal Studios. All of this happened before the company went public on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange in December 2020. At its IPO, PopMart's market value hit $7 billion, and Wang Ning's personal fortune soared past $3.2 billion. But a year and a few months before the IPO, something happened that went unnoticed at the time, and no one could have predicted its later impact on PopMart. In 2015, a Hong Kong illustrator named Kasing Lung designed a character inspired by Scandinavian folklore, a mischievous little elf called Labubu. In 2019, PopMart discovered Kasing and decided to turn this quirky character into a toy. They signed an exclusive contract with him to produce Labubu and launched it for the first time at a midnight event in November 2019 at their flagship store in Shanghai. Just 6 minutes after the curtain was raised, all Labubu boxes were sold out, generating more than 12 million yuan in sales that night. That was the beginning of what led to the global Labubu craze, which exploded in 2024 and continued through mid-2025. Labubu ignited a wave of obsession among Gen Z and millennials across Asia, the United States, and Europe. People began lining up for hours just to get their hands on the latest Labubu releases, sometimes leading to fights, scuffles, and overcrowded chaos. What fueled the craze even more was the appearance of global stars showing off or carrying the Labubu doll, including Lisa from Blackpink, Rihanna, Dua Lipa, Kim Kardashian, and others. This worldwide frenzy was clearly reflected in the Chinese company's numbers. PopMart's total revenue in 2024 reached about $1.8 billion, with an astonishing annual growth rate of 107%. Labubu alone generated $425 million, roughly a quarter of the company's revenue that year. And forecasts suggest that the 2025 figures may double, given the explosive growth in global sales. For instance, in the United States, Labubu sales in June 2025 jumped by 5,000% compared to the same month the year previous, according to estimates by the research firm M Science. As for Wang Ning, his fortune reached around $22 billion in July 2025, making him the youngest person to break into the list of China's top 10 richest individuals.
But here's the real question. Why all the hype? Why are millions of people around the world spending hundreds of millions of dollars on a toy that has no real practical use? And how does this tie into our behavior as consumers? PopMart usually sells its toys in sealed boxes, known as blind boxes or surprise boxes. In China, one box costs around 69 yuan, about $10, and contains a figure from one of the company's collections, like Labubu. But you won't know which one you're getting until you open it. There are also larger and rarer editions that sell for way higher prices, sometimes reaching insane levels. Just last month, for example, the biggest and rarest Labubu figure was auctioned in Beijing for over 1 million yuan. That's more than $150,000.
The secret of blind boxes and their psychological impact. A blind box is a sealed package that hides an unknown product, usually part of a collectible series. The whole idea is that you don't know what's inside until you open it, which adds surprise and excitement. This strategy targets you psychologically, creating a mix of emotions that push you into irrational behavior. But blind boxes alone aren't the only reason behind the Labubu craze. Behavioral economics gives us several explanations. 1. Scarcity of rare items. Collections usually include rare characters, which pushes you to keep buying until you complete the set, a false sense of achievement. 2. Psychological biases. This ties into the endowment effect and loss aversion. You don't want your collection to feel incomplete. 3. Social and emotional value. Online communities are built around this hobby, giving a sense of belonging and sparking competition. 4. Herd behavior. Seeing others, especially influencers, showing off their collections creates social pressure to join in. 5. Addiction factor. Repeated purchases in search of rare pieces trigger dopamine highs, similar to gambling, the gambler's fallacy. 6. Instant gratification. The thrill of opening the box gives quick pleasure, making your brain ignore its actual value. 7. Artificial scarcity. Limited edition releases in small numbers drive high demand and quick buying. 8. The Veblen effect. A product becomes more attractive the higher its price or the rarer it seems, regardless of real value. The lipstick effect. During economic downturns, people often turn to smaller, affordable luxuries instead of expensive items. There's also a cultural factor unique to China. Analysts say that many young people who grew up under the one-child policy often feel lonely, seeking comfort and companionship in products like Labubu. But several studies have linked excessive blind box buying to risks like anxiety, depression, or even suicidal thoughts among certain consumers, especially younger ones. Because of these risks, China has recently started tightening regulations. On June 20, the official newspaper People's Daily published a report calling for strict regulation of this trend, which caused PopMart stock to drop 3.6% on the Hong Kong exchange. The report also noted that Labubu's rise isn't just about a global toy craze. It marks a bigger shift in China's role on the world stage, moving from being just a global factory to exporting its culture worldwide. The Labubu phenomenon isn't just a stuffed toy. It's a clear example of how companies can turn a simple product into a global wave by playing on scarcity, exploiting herd behavior, and fueling the desire to belong, all using smart and powerful marketing strategies. And even though the doll has no real practical value, it has created massive economic and social momentum, drawing long lines of people from Paris to Seoul. In the end, phenomena like Labubu serve as a living example of how a simple idea, backed by a smart marketing strategy, can turn into a global wave that drives markets and sparks a widespread social buzz. It's a reminder that innovation doesn't always require complex tech or massive resources. Sometimes it's about deeply understanding human psychology and recognizing the desires and triggers that make people engage and get drawn in. No matter how different these trends or products might be, they reveal the dynamics of today's market, where something small can become a global talking point and influence buying behavior on a large scale. What do you think? Are these just passing fads, or do they represent new features of the economy of the future? Share your thoughts and opinions in the comments. Discussions like this help us see the bigger picture from multiple angles. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell to stay updated, and give us a like to support us so we can keep creating content that inspires and opens new horizons. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you in the next topic.